Today we're going to go over First Chronicles verses 10 to 14. Now the Philistines fought against Israel, and the Israelites fled before them, and many died on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines were in hot pursuit of Saul and his sons, and they killed the sons Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malachi Shua. The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him. Saul said to his armor bearer, "Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and abuse me." But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. When the armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died. So Saul and his 3 sons died, and all of his house died together with him. When all of the Israelites in the valley saw that the army had fled and that Saul and his sons were dead, they abandoned their towns and fled, and the Philistines came and occupied them. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his sons fallen on Mount Gilboa. They stripped him and took his head and his armor, and sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news among their idols and their people. And they put his armor in the temple of their gods and hung up his head in the temple of Dagon. When all of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all of their valiant men went and took the bodies of Saul and his sons and brought them to Jabesh. Then they buried their bones under the great tree of Jabesh, and they fasted for 7 days. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord, and he even consulted a medium for guidance, and did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. David becomes king over Israel. All Israel came together to David at Hebron and said, "We are your own flesh and blood. In the past, even when Saul was king, you were the one who led Israel on their military campaigns. And the Lord your God said to you, 'You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will become their ruler.'" When all of the elders of Israel had come to King David at Hebron, he made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel, as the Lord had promised through Samuel. David conquers Jerusalem. David and all of the Israelites marched to Jerusalem, that is Jabesh. The Jebusites whom lived there said to David, "You will not get in here." Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, which is the city of David. David had said, "Whoever leads the attack of the Jebusites will become commander-in-chief." Joab, son of Zeruiah, went up first, and so he received the command. David took up residence in the fortress, and so it was called the City of David. He built up the city around it from the terraces to the surrounding wall, while Joab restored the rest of the city, and David became more and more powerful because the Lord Almighty was with him. David's mighty warriors. These were the chiefs of David's mighty warriors. They, together with all of Israel, gave his kingship strong support to extend it over the whole land as the Lord had promised. This is the list of David's warriors. Jehobam, Hechamite. He was chief of the officers. He raised his spear against 300 men, whom he killed in one encounter. Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai, an Anohite, and one of the 3 mighty warriors. He was with David at Pas-dammim, and when the Philistines gathered there for battle, at a place where there was a field full of barley, the troops fled from the Philistines. But they took their stand in the middle of the field. They defended it and struck the Philistines down, and the Lord brought about a great victory. 3 of the 30 chiefs came to David to the rock at the cave of Adullam when a band of Philistines was camped there in the valley of Rephaim, and that David was in the stronghold, and the Philistines' garrison was at Bethlehem. David longed for water and said, "Oh, that someone would get me a drink of water from the well near the gate of Bethlehem." So the three broke through the Philistine line, drew water from the well near the gate at Bethlehem, and carried it back to David. But he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out to the Lord. "God forbid that I should do this," he said. "Should I drink the blood of these men who went at the risk of their lives? Because they risked their lives to bring it to back, David would not drink it." Such were the exploits of the three mighty warriors. Abishai, the brother of Joab, was the chief of the three. He raised his spear against 300 men whom he killed, and so he became famous as the three. He was doubly honored when the three had and became honored above the three and became their commander, even though he was not included among them. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant fighter from Kabzeel, performed great exploits. He struck down Moab's two mightiest warriors, and he also went down into a pit on a snowy day and killed a lion. And he struck down the Egyptian who was 5 cubits tall. Although the Egyptian had a spear like a weaver's rod in his hand, Benaiah went up against him with a club. He snatched the spear from the Egyptian's hand and killed him with his own spear. Such were the exploits of Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. He too was as famous as the three mighty warriors. He was held in greater honor than any of the 30, but he was not included among the three. And David put him in charge of his bodyguard. The mighty warriors were Ashiel, brother of Joab, Elihan, son of Dodo from Bethlehem, Shamath the Harorite, Helez the Pelionite, Ira, son of Ikesh from Tekoa, Ebezer from Anathoth, Shebekiah and the Hushite, and Eliach the Eloite, Mariah the Nephanite, Helid the son of Benaiah the Nephanite, Ithaliah son of Ribiah from Gibeah in Benjamin, Benaiah the Parathionite, Huriah from the ravines of Gash, Abiel the Arbathite, Asmavrith the Bethamite. Eliab, the Shabbanite, the sons of Hashem and Gizonite, Jonathan, the son of Shagi, the Hariite, Ahim, son of Sakar, the Hariite, Epithel, son of Heber, the Mercathite, Ejah, and the Pelonite, Hezro the Carmelite, Nahar son of Ziba, Joel the brother of Nathan, Meber son of Hagri, Zelek the Ammonite, Nerhi the Betherite, the armor bearer of Job son of Zerah, Era the Etherite, Gareb the Etherite, Uriah the Hittite, Zab the son of Elihai, Adana son of Shiza the Reubenite, who was the chief of the Reubenites, and the 30 with him, Hanan son of Makai, Josephite the Methanite, Urza the Ashurathite, Shammah and Jel the son of Hatham and Arorite, Jediah son of Shemai, his brother Joah and Tizite,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Elah the Mehavite, Jerubai the Joshua, Uzziah the Etherite, Shemai and Jael son of Hatam the Arioite, Jediel son of Shurim, his brother Joah and Tizite, Eliah the Mahavite, Jerubiah the Jashuav, the son of Elam, Itamat the Moabite, Eli, Obed, and Jeshel the Mesobite. Verse 12, warriors joined David. These were the men who came to David at Ziklag when he was banished from the presence of Saul, son of Kish. They were among the warriors who helped him in battle, and they were armed with bows and were able to shoot arrows or to sling stones, right-handed or left-handed. They were relatives of Saul from the tribe of Benjamin. Hazir was their chief, and Joash, the son of Shemaiah, the Gibbethite, Jezel and Pelite, the sons of Asmaveth, Bereshai, Jehu, Anathite, the Anathite, and Ishmael the Gibeonite, the mighty warrior among the 30, who was the leader of the 30, Jeremiah, Jeshiel, Jonathan, Zoabad, and Jeredathite, Elusiah, Jeremath, Beletha, Shemara, Shephathard, Harpathite, Ekelana, Ishiel, Azarel, Jozer, and Jashobim, the Korathites, and Joelah and Zebetha, the son of Jeroham from Gedor. The Gedites defected to David at his stronghold in the wilderness. They were brave warriors ready for battle and able to handle the shield and spear. Their faces were the faces of lions, and they were as swift as gazelles in the mountains. Ezer was the chief, Obadiah the second in command, Elab the third, Mishmana the fourth, Jeremiah the fifth, Etta the sixth, Eliah the seventh, Jonathan the eighth, Elibad the ninth, Jeremiah the 10th, and Mechabani the 11th. These Gadites were army commanders. The least was a match for 100, and the greatest for 1,000. It was they who crossed the Jordan in the first month when it was overflowing at its banks, and they put to flight everyone living in the valley to the east and to the west. The other Benjamites and some men from Judah also came to David in his stronghold. David went out to meet them and said to them, "If you come to me in peace to help me, I am ready for you to join me. But if you have come to betray me to my enemies, when my hands are free from violence, may the God of our ancestors see it and you judge see it and judge you." Then the Spirit came on Amasai, chief of the 30, and he said, "We are yours, David. We are with you, son of Jesse. Success, success to you, and success to those who help you, for your God will help you." So David received them and made them leaders in his raiding bands. Some of the tribe of Messiah defected to David when he went with the Philistines to fight against Saul. He and his men did not help the Philistines because after consultation, their rulers sent him away. They said, "It will cost us our heads if he deserts to his master Saul." When David went to Ziklag, these were the men of Manasseh who defected to him: Adnai, Jozabad, Jediel, Michael, Jozabad, Eliah, Ithiah, leaders of the units of 1,000 in Manasseh. They helped David against raiding bands, for all of them were brave warriors, and they were commanders in his army. Day after day, men came to help David until he had a great army, like the army of God. Others joined David at Hebron. These are the numbers of the men armed for battle who came to David at Hebron to turn Saul's kingdom over to him, as the Lord had said. From Judah, carrying sword and shield and spear, 6,800 armed for battle. From Simeon, warriors ready for battle, 7,100. From Levi, 4,600, including Jedhodiah, the leader of the family of Aaron, with 3,700, and Zadok, a brave young warrior, with 22 officers from his family. From Benjamin, Saul's tribe, 3,000, most of them whom remained loyal to Saul's house until then. From Ephraim, brave warriors famous in their own clans, 20,800. From the tribe of Manasseh, is designated by name to come and make David king, 18,000. From Ishkar, men who understood the times and knew what Israel should do, 200 chiefs with all of their relatives under their command. From Zebulun, experienced soldiers prepared for battle with every type of weapon to help David with undivided loyalty, 50,000. From Naphtali, 1,000 officers gathered with 30,000 men carrying shields and spears. From Dan, ready for battle, 28,600. From Asher, experienced soldiers prepared for battle, 40,000. And from east of the Jordan, from Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, armed with every type of weapon, there were 120,000 more. All of these were fighting men who volunteered to serve in the ranks. They came to Hebron fully determined to make David king over all of Israel. All the rest of the Israelites were also with him in one mind to make David king. The men spent 3 days there with David, eating and drinking, for their families had supplied provisions for them. Also, their neighbors from as far away as Ishkar, Zebulun, and Naphtali came bringing food on donkeys, camels, mules, and oxen. There were plentiful supplies of flour, fig kegs, raisin cakes, wine, olive oil, cattle, and sheep, for there was joy in Israel. Verse 13, bring back the ark. Dave conferred with each of his officers, the commander of thousands and commander of hundreds, And then he said to the whole assembly of Israel, if it seems good for you, and if it is your will of God, that we send word far and wide to the rest of our people throughout the territories of Israel, and also to the priests, the Levites, who are with them in their towns in pasture lands, to come and join us. Let us bring the ark of our people, God and of our God, back to us, for we will not inquire of it during the reign of Saul. The whole assembly agreed to this because it seemed right to all the people. So David assembled all Israel from the Shiran River in Egypt to Lebo Hamath to bring the ark of God from Kereth Jearim. David and all of Israel went to Baalah of Judah, Kereth Jearim, to bring it up from there the ark of God, the Lord who is enthroned between the cherubim, and the ark that is called by his name. They moved the ark of God to Abinadab's house on a new cart with Uzzah and Ahio guiding it. David and all the Israelites were celebrating with all of their might before God, with songs and harps and lyres and timbrels and cymbals and trumpets. When they came to the threshing floor of Kedron, Uzziah reached out his hand to steady the ark because the oxen stumbled. The Lord's anger burned against Uzziah, and he struck him down because he had put his hand on the ark. So he died there before God. Then David was angry because the Lord's wrath had broken out against Uzziah, and to this day that place is called Pez Uzzah. David was afraid of God that day and asked, how can I ever bring the ark of God to me? He did not take the ark to be with him in the city of David. Instead, he took it to the house of Edom, and Gittite. The ark of God remained with the family of Obed-Edom in his house for 3 months, and the Lord blessed his household and everything he had. David's house and family, verse 14. Now Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David along with cedar logs, stonemasons, and carpenters to build a palace for him. And David knew the Lord had established him as king over Israel, and that his kingdom had been highly exalted for the sake of the people of Israel. In Jerusalem, David took more wives and became the father of more sons and daughters. These are the names of the children born to him: Shemamu, Mawa, Shoba, Nathan, Solomon, Ibar, Elijah, Eplet, Nogag, Nepheg, Japhiah, Ishahama, Belada, and Eplet. David defeats the Philistines. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king over all of Israel, they went up in force to search for him. But David heard of it and went out to meet them. Now the Philistines had come and raided the valley of Rehaim, and David inquired of God, shall I go and attack the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hands? The Lord answered, go, I will deliver them into your hands. So David and his men went up to Baal Perazim, and there he defeated them, and said, as waters break out, God has broken out against my enemies by my hand. So that place was called Baal Perazim. The Philistines had abandoned their gods, and there David gave orders to burn them in the fire. Once more the Philistines raided the valley. So David inquired of God again, and God answered him, do not go directly after them, but circle around them and attack them in front of the poplar trees. And as soon as you hear the sound of marching in the tops of the poplar trees, move out to battle, because that will mean God has gone all out in front of you to strike the Philistine army. So David did as God commanded him and struck down the Philistine army all the way from Gibeon to Gezer. David's fame spread throughout every land, and the Lord made all the nations fear him. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.